Welcome to the Eye on Annapolis Local Business Spotlight. There are thousands of locally owned businesses in the area, some small and some large. Some you may know and others you don't. But one thing they all have in common is a great story, and we want to share it with you. Join us every Saturday as we talk to the founders, the owners, and the managers of local businesses you have come to know and love, and those you will come to know and love. Now here's your host, John Frenay, with this week's Local Business Spotlight.
Well, today we're sitting down with Jitendra Rathod, who is the founder and executive director of a small but mighty, I'm going to say, nonprofit based up in Crofton called FarmUnity. How are you today?
Very good. How are you?
Good. Hey, thank you very much for inviting me up here to your corporate headquarters, it appears, in Crofton. And, you know, from the start, I just want to throw out the website. It is farmunity.org, and there is a hyphen in between farm and unity, so it's farm-unity.org. And really kind of a very neat concept that you've come up with that got its start in the Crofton Library, of all places.
That's correct.
Give me the background on FarmUnity.
Sure. So as the name says, farm and unity, so the name stands for itself. It's like farming community. So it is kind of community garden for the community. It's farming for the community and by the community. So that's what we do. I'll give you a little bit more background if you have.
Oh, I'd love to.
Yeah, sure. So the way it worked was I was in India in February of 2023, and one of my friends, she gave me a book like Why People in Finland Are the Happiest People. When I read the book, I'm like, and the book said that the people are the happiest people because the community comes together and gives it back to the community. So then I thought about it, like, what can I do? What can I learn from this? And how can I do something like, community coming together and giving back to community? So I do, in my backyard, I do some kind of vegetable garden. So I thought, let me do something similar. And so I approached a couple of schools. It did not work out. But the library was gracious enough to give us not only 4,000 square feet of land, but they also gave us $5,000 from the foundation to start this garden. So that's how it started.
You know, the library rocks. And I mean, Skip Auld, who's running it, is just fabulous. I mean, it's amazing that, we can garden at the library. We can rent violins and fishing rods and, of course, books and movies and everything else.
Yeah.
And the libraries are just such a wonderful resource that we have here in Anne Arundel County. And I love that you've played on the unity with community as well as unity.
Yes.
So it's, which is great.
Yes.
And essentially what you do is you grow crops.
Yes.
And basically, but in addition, you're educating people.
Right.
As far as what to do and why we do it.
Yes.
I mean, what is the benefit of growing your own? I mean, I've got two brown thumbs that I can't keep anything alive.
And that's how I was also, So
right.
So let me give you there are four basic things that we do actually. So the first is, of course, as I said, one of the big thing is I wanted the community coming together and doing something for the community. So that was the first motive. And when I started, it was just me and my wife and a couple of friends who came together. Now we have more than 120 volunteers.
120?
120 volunteers. And when I talk about volunteers, it is not just like we have 120 volunteers who, not everyone comes on Friday, but most of the Fridays everyone comes and gets together and work on this. So, but we have also Boy Scout, Girl Scout, all the seedlings given to us by North County High School. The University of Maryland is very much involved in what we do. So in case if something doesn't work out, I reached out to John, who is the director at the University of Maryland. So it's community coming together in a real way. It is not just a bunch of people coming. It is a lot of people are coming together and working in this in different forms.
Now, when did you start this?
So we started this in last April. So April of 2023.
Okay, very, very new.
Yeah.
I'm going to say your timing is probably very perfect. And I was talking to somebody in the police department who was saying just in general that students, as they look at students coming back from COVID,
Yeah.
have seemingly lost a lot of social skills and a lot of the sense of community that was,
Yeah.
whether it be their home, their neighborhood, the school.
Right.
And this seems like it fits perfectly into there.
Yes.
Okay, we need to, we had a really bad, rough couple of years.
Yes.
Let's bring this back
Yes.
together and do it.
Yes. So the four things I was mentioning was, of course, the community coming together. Now, giving back to community is a big thing because one of my volunteers, she works in some kind of therapy center where people from Medicaid and Medicare folks, they come there. They don't have access to fresh food. So they used to give them cans. But when she was volunteering with us, she said, I can take all these vegetables and keep it there. So there are 700 people who come there, and all the vegetables that we have grown was there. And in the entire summer, we grew almost 600 pounds of vegetables, which is like tomatoes, pepper, cucumber, watermelon.
That's crazy. 600 pounds?
600 pounds. So we keep it there and they take it from there. And it used to go there within hours. Like we keep it on every Tuesday, we used to keep there. It used to go there within an hour. And then we keep some of the produce in library also. So anyone who comes to the library, they just come and take it. So that's the concept.
That's awesome. And
Yeah.
and I think we all know that a fresh food out of a garden can't compare to opening that can or
Yes.
undoing the cellophane or whatever it happens to come in from the local supermarket. And gosh knows how long it's been sitting around waiting. I mean, I know I've opened up some packages, the prepackaged, and it's like, well, there's mold,
Yeah.
so you don't know
Yeah.
how long it is.
And the other thing I wanted to also add is we don't use any chemicals. I would not say, I don't claim organic because I don't know the soil, how it is, but at least we don't use any chemicals from our side. So we try to keep it as natural as possible. So even most of the folks have told me that it tastes good. I'm like, yeah, it will, because we don't use any external chemicals in our in the farming that we do.
What got you into farming? And I mean, this is sort of like with quote marks on farming. I mean, when you
Sure,
think of,
sure.
I mean, there's no giant fields, but what got you into it?
So when I was a kid in India, growing up as a kid, my grandparents had farms, and I used to go in summer, work with them. So I had some inclination towards that. And when I came in US, and then the backyard gardening, I used to do something. So that is one thing. And the other thing, one of the things that FarmUnity does is something that is very subtle, is something, like we have all this grass in the library, for example. The grass is not there anymore. So microbes can come there now. Because the grass is not there, microbes can come there. A lot of people have told me that in that area, people who walk from there, they said they have never seen so many birds coming. So now the birds are coming there, and we have sunflowers there. So people who are walking, they see sunflowers, they see fresh vegetables, they see birds. So there are a lot of things that is, of course, associated with this. And as you rightly said about the example of police, I think I have high school kids also coming and working them, and I know a couple of folks, they said that this is so much good for their mental health also. Mm-hmm. So I think that is another aspect that is attached to this one.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, so you've got, it's like, I think you said like almost 4,000 square feet.
Right.
Picture that. How big is that? I mean, a typical house is like 3,000. So it's a fairly big plot of land.
Yes.
That's on the library there. Now, are you anywhere else? I mean, is this where the 120 people come and garden in this little area?
Yes. So I should say that I have 120 volunteers, but at any given point of time, there are 15 or 20 people who show up. Now, if there is some tremendous work, like I had to put some green leaf grow in the garden, that time I need a lot of folks. So that time I just felt like, hey, I need more people. So that time a lot of people do show up. Now that you've asked me that, where else we are doing, this is interesting. So this is completely homegrown. I did not approach anyone, but the local elementary school came to me and they said that, can you do this for us? Now the model there, of course, the volunteers are going to work there, but the kids who are in kindergarten, first grade, second grade, their parents, I want the parents to come and they both work together. The parents coming there, the kids coming there, they're spending time in the garden. It will be such good memories when these kids grow up.
Well, so it does. It brings the whole community and unity back again.
The whole concept is community coming together. So that is one school. The other thing is in our area, there is a school for emotionally challenged kids, K through 12. They have approached me and they said, why don't you come and do something for us? Because the emotionally challenged kids, not only will they benefit going in the garden, but they will also learn a skill that they can use when they grow up.
I love to hear a story similar to that. And I just received an email this morning from a teacher at Annapolis High who said that she's got one art class that has just the most diverse group of kids. I mean, there's some LGBTQ, there's some black, there's some white, there's some wealthy, there's some poor. There's some kids that are routinely suspended. There are kids that are good kids. There's one in the PVA arts, but he's just taking this because he likes it. And they're developing this. It's going to be actually at the library in West Street.
Right.
A chicken, and it's based off of books that made a difference in their lives growing up. And she said she's never seen a group of people come together like this. And she said I think it's really very special. You talk about, and that's art in that instance. Had brought people together and brought people out of their shell, if you will.
Yes.
I was just talking to Langton Green, which has a community farm up in Gambrels, and they work with developmentally challenged people that will help to garden, and they're putting out the produce and everything else, but they're finding that it's therapy as well.
Yes,
This is giving somebody a sense of purpose, and I mean, I guess it's similar to the Takaguchis or whatever they had when they were little. You've got something and now you're caring for it and bringing it up, and it's giving you nourishment.
Absolutely. And I should mention one thing, that a lot of people talk about community farming. Now ours is farming for the community. So in community farming, what happens is people have their own pieces of land and they work on that. Our model is different. Our model is farming by the community. So we have the whole plot and the community comes together and works on the entire farm. It is not pieces of land, because the whole concept is, hey, let's all get together. After COVID and whatnot, people are working from home. This is really an avenue where everyone can come, work in the garden, and it makes you feel so good.
Well, I know when you're older, I mean, that would be a typical thing, like where I might buy a 6 foot by 6 foot plot or rent, and I say, I'm into tomatoes or I'm into cucumbers or whatever it is. So now you've got one large plot that everybody's coming together. How do you determine what gets grown?
Excellent. I think I look at the demand and supply kind of thing. So, for example, I'll give an example. Right now in our garden, we have fall crops like spinach, arugula, all the greens, cauliflower and everything. So I'll give you an example. So last week, one of my volunteers who took it and kept it at the therapeutic center, she said that, because of the heat, the spinach is getting, it's not like, it gets dry very soon. So now I have to start thinking, so do I put spinach there or I just put it in the library, where in library, there is a lot of people coming and going and it gets very quickly soon. So one of my aim is something that people can eat readily, like tomatoes. People make pasta, they do a lot of things. Cucumber, watermelon, pumpkins. So those things, I think people really eat it, and it's very quickly used. So I think that is my thought process. For example, I have rosemary. A lot of people I've just sent message to people, hey, Thanksgiving, do you guys want rosemary? A lot of people are coming in my garden and picking up the rosemary.
And just picking a couple sprigs and
absolutely
and do that. That's pretty amazing. Now, of your volunteers that are working the garden, okay. Now, when you talk about your different volunteers, I mean, they're actually getting their hands and fingers and knees dirty, and they're digging in the dirt and they're planting and they're harvesting and everything else. Do most of them, and I think I know the answer to this, but I want to see what you say, but do most of them partake of the harvest? Do they take the food that is grown, or do they leave it for others?
So the good thing about what surprised me the most was that even though we have only 4,000 square feet of land, it grows so much. So even when people take, and I'm talking about 600 pounds after people have taken, so some folks do take it and they take it home. The other thing I really wanted to mention is when someone comes and asks me, like, can I be volunteer? I'm like, and do I need some skill set for farming? I said, nothing, just show up. The most important thing is we all should come here, and we all have to be together. Some people are good in taking pictures. Some people are good in writing. There is one volunteer who is helping me creating the website. So hey, you can have any skill set. Just show up at the garden, work and do whatever you want to do, but just show up and come there.
That's fantastic. To volunteer, okay, you are a 501c3, so you are a nonprofit?
Yes, we are.
So we can absolutely throw gobs of money at you guys and help you to do that.
Would love that.
To volunteer, again, you'd want to go to farm-unity.org, and that can learn how to do that. And you say the best way is probably just to show up at one of the events?
Absolutely, absolutely. And then we also have our email, farmunityusa@gmail.com, which is there on our website also.
Okay.
So they can just approach me from there. And in our website, how to contact us, it is written.
One thing, Jitendra, is that this has grown pretty quickly.
Very quickly.
Inside of less than a year.
Yes. Yes.
What are you looking down the future? Are you looking for other libraries or?
Sure. So,
and I noticed that the Wix site had USA in it, as does the email. So that leads me to believe that there may be a bigger plan somewhere.
My vision is very simple: that we are richest country on the earth. We have so much of resources as far as the land goes. No kid, right now, around when I was reading about something, 13% of the kids are going hungry. No kids should be hungry in this country. We should be able to feed everyone. And we have land, we have volunteers, we have money, we can do this. So as I said, we are growing right now. So we have already 4 other sites that we are already working on. There are a couple of schools. There is a community college. And I forgot to mention one other thing, that bunch of doctors, they came together and said, pediatricians, they said that we see a lot of stress in kids. Can you make garden for the kids pediatric center? So I think all these gardens are in different places and for different reasons. So definitely, to answer your question, I do see that any place who wants to make this, and where stress can be reduced and we can give the food to people in need, we are always open, and I'm sure there will be a lot of places we'll be going further down.
And I think that it's probably got to be, as you probably realize, it's probably pretty easy to start this. I mean, you just need to how to dig and plant and harvest.
That's it.
There's not a whole lot beyond that. No. And I mean, obviously you learn as you go.
Absolutely.
And it's very striking. And I mean, Anne Arundel County is very rich in any number of ways.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got from agriculture to commercial to heavy density and low density and wealth and poverty and everything else. And there's a wonderful report that Dr. Karen Brown puts out every year called Poverty Amidst Plenty.
I see.
Which really defines on how bad this gap is. And you don't realize the need in the county. And if anybody would like to understand the need, I mean, I would always say, go check out the Anne Arundel County Food Bank and look at what they're distributing.
Yeah.
You look at, talk to the schools and find out how many homeless children they are tracking down to transport to school.
Absolutely.
How many are really living without full meals at home.
Yeah.
So when we do have that, we've got to think that we're very, very fortunate to be able to do that and to be able to give it back to the community as well.
Yes.
And this is just a way that anybody can get involved and do it.
Absolutely.
You talk about a sustainable farm, and that's a word I find that gets sort of thrown around everywhere. Okay, I can buy a car and they tell me it's sustainable. I can buy, I don't take a plane and that's sustainable because I walked or whatever it is. What does sustainable mean to you in terms of like farming and growing FarmUnity?
Sure. So sustainability in my mind is the biggest thing the earth gives us is the land. We have our own land. We have the seedlings. For example, one of the North County High School teacher, he does all the seedlings for me. So all the farms that I have, the seedlings comes from him and he puts it together. And there's another school also there, I'm working on that. They have a huge greenhouse. So they'll be providing us seedlings, and even the library said that we can set up a greenhouse in the library so the kids can come and see also where this goes. So between those things and the leaves, I collected a lot of leaves from the neighborhood and I put that in the garden. So that way, the leaf also, the leaf grows there. When we look about seedlings, when we look about the land, when we look at the volunteers, these are all things that is sustainable because we are growing it just from nothing. We are growing all those things. And again, it goes to people in need. And I have got so many emails from different folks saying that, hey, we had some good food because of you guys. And I'm like, that makes my day,
Yeah, it really should. It should. And, I think that we're in a change, a generational change right now, and you're leading a mindset shift and a paradigm shift, or whatever you want to call it. I'm older than you, but I think when I grew up, it was all about pre-processed food and everything else. And you see some of the things that are wrong with that.
Yes.
You look at the steroids that are put in food and the additives, and I swear that and I don't mean to sound like this anti-vaxxer or anything like this, but I swear that some of the the ADD, the ADHD, some of the perhaps some of the Downs, there's a lot of issues that our young people are facing today that I don't remember facing as a child, and I don't remember my parents facing as a child, and it's a more difficult world. But I think that a lot of that probably does stem from some of the additives and stuff like. We've talked about education. Obviously, there's a lot of education on teaching people how to garden and everything else. Is this something that we can? You already said that we can. With me and my 2 brown thumbs, I can do it. So that's encouraging. But is this something that we can do at home as opposed to just doing in the garden? Is that something that you would work to help us figure out?
Absolutely. Because I think one of the things, as I said, University of Maryland and Derek, he's in close contact, and if anything happens, I always call him. There is a school in North County. There's a teacher who does this, so he's also there as a resource. So these are all the resources we have, and absolutely, doing it in backyard, we'll be more than happy to guide people. But I think one of the big vision I always have is community coming together, because I think that is I'm a big proponent of that, because I think for various reasons, we are all divided. We need to come together, and that really brings a lot of, I've seen a lot of energy when all these folks comes on Friday and sometimes on Saturday, Sunday too. It is just so much of fun, and just a couple of hours goes very quickly. So that is, of course, as I said, farming and community, FarmUnity. But I think if anyone needs help at the backyard, and I've done that also. The volunteers that come to work, they have their own backyards. So sometimes they'll ask me, and I'll tell them, hey, do this or do that. So definitely very open to that too.
To me, it makes sense for me that I live down in Annapolis, that it might be fun for me to create a small little garden in my yard to maybe take care of what I need.
Sure.
Yet, I would totally love to come up to Crofton and play in the dirt with a dozen other people, because I think of probably a lot of. Jumping back into the community aspect of this, a lot of friendships develop out of this.
Oh yeah.
You're talking to neighbors that you didn't know that existed.
Yes.
We are living in a weird bedroom community type of a time, and it's you hear the stories when something bad in a neighborhood happens, like, oh well, I've lived here for 5 years and I've never seen that guy. I'm like, well, that's kind of weird.
Yes.
I think. Yes. Even if it's just a wave, and you may not necessarily like them too well, but it's. Right. We do need to come together as a community a little bit better, and I think everything works a little bit better when that happens there.
Yeah.
But Chance, did you ever see the movie called The Biggest Little Farm?
No, I haven't.
Okay, go look at that. I'll leave you. I'll write it down on a note. But
sure.
It's about a couple that decided they were living high pressure lives, and they said, okay, screw this, we're going off the grid.
I see.
And they bought this just rundown farm that was, and everybody was like, what are you doing? Why would you even, A, do this, and B, why would you buy that?
Right.
And they nurtured it. They turned it over. And it's a story about how they developed it, all the struggles, the tribute. There was a great funny scene where she discovered a whole snake pit with snakes. And,
wow.
And ultimately, it turned this around, and it was now it's a viable farm. They have farm produce, farm stands, and it's just turned into, I'll say, a big business, big for this couple that's running it. And again, it has a really great story on the community coming together to be able to figure out to make this happen, and obviously the nurture, the nutritional aspect of having something that goes farm literally to table, as opposed to a marketing ploy, which I think a lot of restaurants use. Is, we got farm to table, but it comes in a truck that's been refrigerated for a while too. So eventually, way back when, it was on a farm, and it is going to go to a table. So we're not, we're sort of. What would surprise anybody that's listening that they didn't know? I'm blown away that this is less than a year old, but with FarmUnity, what would really surprise people to know about it?
I think the biggest surprise people might have is that you might be going to grocery store for a lot of other things, but there are a lot of things that you can have in the library itself. You go to get a book, but you'll be surprised that, hey, I can get watermelon at the library. Hey, I can get some pumpkin at the library or tomatoes at the library. So I think that is probably a surprise element. And the other surprise element is, as you rightly said, we might be like, I've been living in Crofton for almost 20 years. I did not know a lot of people, but now when I go walk or even in malls, some people know me, hey, and we just talk for some time, So a lot of people are getting together, they're building connections, they're building friendship. In fact, at the end of the harvest, in August time frame, what we did was we did a get together with all the community. So we prepared everything from the garden itself.
Oh, that's wild.
So,
that's awesome. So it was a harvest festival.
Harvest festival. So on August 30th, there was Harvest Festival, and my condition was only one. We should be using at least one or two things from the garden. You may get something else. So it was a big surprise for me that there was so much food that people made on different things. For example, one of my volunteers, she took the pumpkin, she carved that out, and then she put some vegetables into it, and she makes some really good dish, which I never thought that I would ever eat that kind of thing.
And you're using the pumpkin as a dish.
Yeah. So, and again, those pictures are there on our website.
Is that something that you're going to plan to do it at the end of every harvest? I mean, I know that we've got roughly, 4 harvests a year?
Sure.
That is the get together and the little festival and sort of reap the rewards of what we've sown?
Absolutely. And as I said, we are growing fast. So we have like 4 or 5 other locations. So I might probably even do it at all the locations because, that community needs to come together. So these are different communities. So all those communities need to come together.
That's true. Somebody in North County may not have, be as community meshing as the Crofton community because they're their own separate. That's wild. What do you do with? I mean, do you have leftover produce? Do you have leftover stuff out of the garden? What happens if it doesn't all go away?
It has not happened so far. Because
that's a good problem to have.
Because I said there are 700 folks who come to this center, and every Tuesday and Thursday we keep there. Within an hour, like 1 or 2 hours, everything is gone. So there is so much more need, and I feel bad that I cannot produce more. And maybe from the other gardens, 4 or 5 gardens that I'm talking about, maybe we'll produce more and we can keep it there. So I think that problem, I don't have it. And the other thing that was surprising to me, when I put this garden, I thought maybe, people will come and do something with the garden, like young kids, like teenagers or something. Nothing has happened.
What, do you mean vandalism?
Vandalism.
Wow.
But I was thinking maybe, not even once anything has happened. So
you hear about the senseless vandalism that I hate to say I would think, but I mean, it wouldn't be surprised to see somebody drive a car up there and just spin their wheels through the garden just to be a jerk.
Yeah, exactly.
Not at all. Nothing.
Not at all. So when I started, that was in my mind. Not even once it has happened, and that's exactly where I say people take the communities in together, and they're like, hey, we made this.
It's pride.
It is pride. Absolutely, it's a pride.
It's pride for the folks that are working with it, the volunteers that are here, and certainly for you that founded this.
Yeah.
You said June of 23? Did you say?
No, we started in April 2023. April 23. April, yeah. So that time we were just in the talks, but I think May time frame we started building the fence just because with the chicken wire, so the animals don't go.
Keep the deer out.
Keep the deer and animals out. Nothing else. But it has been a fun time.
That's great. Well, I'll tell you, thank you so much, Jitendra, for telling us about FarmUnity. Again, farm-unity.org, or you want to go to farmunityusa@gmail.com is a way to get in touch.
Sure.
I would suggest checking out the website and getting up to one of the sites. Crofton is very centrally located for Anne Arundel County. See what it's all about. And if you're a community organizer in other parts of the county, definitely come out here and talk with Jitendra and find out how this can work in your community. This is a great concept. I hope you're busier than you know what to do with setting up these FarmUnity gardens all across the county and maybe the state as it goes.
Yes.
Are you prepared for it?
Absolutely. I think the county executive is already talking. The office of county executive, they're already talking to me because they have formed something called food council. So they are already talking to me. to see how this can be grown.
Well, and you got Stuart Pittman, who's a farmer himself,
Absolutely.
so that's
Absolutely.
I can't argue with that.
Absolutely. So someone from his office is already talking to me right now, and we're working on that.
Fantastic. Jitendra Rathod, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for establishing this. And, I'm sure the Crofton community is absolutely thrilled with what you've brought, and we'll see what the future holds.
And John, thank you so much for coming here, talking to me and spreading the word out, because I think this is very important, because one of the basic aspects of this community garden for the community is more people coming to know, and it spreading the word. And I hope, there are more gardens everywhere, and as I said, no kids should be hungry. Everyone should have food. We have land, we have money, we'll be able to do it, one garden at a time.
Thanks for listening to this week's Local Business Spotlight. Please make sure to visit eyeonannapolis.net for all your local news, events, and opinion. And in case you haven't already, please subscribe to the Eye on Annapolis Daily News Brief, where we bring you all the day's local news direct to your phone, tablet, or computer in about 10 minutes. It comes to you at 6 a.m. every Monday through Friday, and you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.